Hey everyone, today we're going to talk about the alveolar capillary membrane. So this is the membrane through which the process of blood gas exchange happens. So this is why it's also called the blood-air barrier. The contents of that membrane are very simple. So first of all, we have, this is the alveolus, and here we have the alveolary epithelium. The alveolary epithelium, here we have a surfactant, as we know, and here we would have the capillary endothelium. So we have here the endothelium. And in between, right there, we have the interstitium. Now, this part that we have here is what we call the blood or the blood-air barrier, or the alveolar capillary membrane. The thickness of that structure can range from 2 micrometers to 600 nanometers and up to 200 nanometers in some areas, so it's pretty thin, but it's very rigid, relatively speaking, due to the presence of the collagen fibers. So we have collagen fibers, and those fibers make it very rigid and strong, and it maintains itself pretty well regarding the actual pressure that it's exposed to. It can burst at 40 millimeter mercury. At that point, that membrane would rupture. When would that happen? It can happen in such cases that we call barotrauma. So, when there is a trauma that affects the pressure, for example, induced pulmonary edema throughout swimming, for example, when there is an excessive pressure in the lungs throughout swimming and that membrane can't take it anymore, such in cases of drowning, for example, in that case the membrane could rupture. Otherwise it maintains itself pretty well. So what this membrane allows is the exchange of gases. So we have oxygen going into the capillaries and carbon dioxide coming out of the capillaries into the alveoli in order to be expelled outside the lungs throughout the process of expiration. A very important thing that we need to know is the different concentration of the gases throughout. So we have the oxygen, we have carbon dioxide, we have alveolar, arterial, and venous. As for the oxygen, we have 150 in the alveolus and in the arteries. In the veins, on the other hand, we have around 40. Alright? For carbon dioxide, we have 0.21 in the alveoli, 40 in the arteries, and 46 in the veins. So we can see the massive difference of the amount of oxygen that we have in the alveoli and in the arteries, same values, while carbon dioxide, we have a very little amount in the alveoli and we have relatively a higher amount in the arteries. And that signifies something. It signifies that the solubility of oxygen is much higher than carbon dioxide. Matter of fact, we have 20 times difference of solubility between oxygen and carbon dioxide. Another very important thing that we need to know is that carbon monoxide, not dioxide, carbon monoxide is as diffusible as oxygen. It has the same diffusion ratio, which is very dangerous because carbon monoxide is a poisonous gas and it can be found in car exhaust, smokes, and so on and so forth. And this has very serious health complications. But carbon monoxide, for example, is used in a test in order to assess the capacity of the alveolar capillary membrane, or the diffusion capacity of the lungs. It's called DL carbon monoxide diffusion. And in that test, what happens is that we have two chambers. One with a known concentration of carbon monoxide, and the test subject starts to inhale the gas that contains the carbon monoxide in very, very small ratios. And then there would be a stop, so apnea, no respiration for 10 seconds, and then they would exhale in another chamber in which the concentration of carbon monoxide is unknown. And then the concentration there is measured, and the difference between the before and after concentrations are measured, and then you would know how much of the gas was actually diffused throughout the lungs throughout the process of respiration. And by doing that, you would assess the capacity of the alveolar capillary membrane. So that was our lesson for today. I hope it was easy. Next time we're going to talk about the perfusion of the lungs, so the blood supply of the lungs. Until then, I thank you for watching and see you. Click here to subscribe in order to be notified when new medical video tutorials are uploaded, and to check the older videos of medical tutorials and also high school tutorials.